going to talk about some chords. Now the exercise that we're looking at is what's called a 2-5-1 chord progression, which is D minor 7th, G7th, and C, and I'll post the tab up with the video. And so the two chords there in the key of C major are just D minor 7th and G7th and C major 7th. Now, if you've looked into chord theory a little bit, you know that many of these chords can just be substituted. So if we have a chord like D minor 7th, for example, it might occasionally be played as a D minor 6th or D minor 9th or a D minor 11th or some other form of D minor. So there's various chord extensions which can go with those chords. And also with G7th, we know that we can add a 13th or an added 9th, or we can do a sharp 5 or a flat 5, or we can do a sharp 9 or a flat 9. And so all these chords can be substituted. Instead of C major 7th, you might play C6. Now, all these chords are subtly different, and yet all of them will work reasonably well, with each other. So if you have one guitar playing D minor 7th, another one might play D minor 9th, and yet they won't really clash. They'll kind of sound similar and actually often quite interesting. Now, in an improvised jazz context or world music or modern music context, there's always an element of unpredictability, but also an element of flexibility in what you're playing. So you don't necessarily know what the guitar player next to you is going to play next. But you listen to what the players are doing and you respond to that. And sometimes you respond instinctively, sometimes you respond through having planned it beforehand. But I just want to go through the basics of how I would approach playing those two chords and some of the possibilities that any guitar player could use confronting those kind of sounds. So I'm going to set these cameras up a little bit differently here. So that'll give a close-up there on the neck of the guitar. And so the chord progression was like D minor 7th and G7th and C major 7th. Now the right hand pattern that I'm using there is just a strum stop and strum stop and C major 7th, like that, strum stop. And so the count for that would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that particular chord progression, that particular kind of strum, is more like the kind of strum that you'd hear in sort of early jazz styles. I remember over the 1920s, 1930s, the European jazz styles. I don't know much about New Zealand jazz at that time. We know that there were some jazz bands and some good musicians playing jazz in Auckland at that time, but I'm not familiar with many recordings from those players. But anyway, that's the basic form of the 2-5-1, like that. Now, you could then think of those three chords as being all in the open position on a guitar. So you'll often find them in a beginner's chord chart. Those kind of sounds. But if you were to place them around about the third position, then you'd have D minor 7th, G7th, and a C6. And that's the one that I've put on the page, for you there. And you could do D minor 9th, it's G13th, and C6 9. For example, you could do D minor 6 to G7th and C6, and I'll put that in the first position. The D minor 7th, and then a G7th chord starting on the 4th string, going down to the C major 7th and the C6. And you can alternate those rounds, so like D minor 7th, D minor 6th, G7th, C major 7th and C6. You just kind of move them around a little bit. Likewise, you could do D minor 7th, G7 sharp 9, moving down to C6 like that. Now what you noticed about that one was that you had the top note, the F, and that B flat coming down to the A, like that. So that's making a kind of a melody like do, D, like that. Now, of course, any one of these chords you can approach from a semitone below. From a semitone above. Just got to be careful, don't speed up here. Now, if you go into the 5th position, you're going to get a D minor 7th there, G7. And you keep the notes on the treble strings, so it's going to give you a C major 7th like that. You could do D minor 6, G7th, flat 9th, and C major 7th. C major 7th like that. D minor 7th, G7th, G6th, and C6, major 7th. D minor 9th, and G7th, and C major 7th. D minor 6, going down to G major 7th, and C6 like that. For the D minors, you could add the C on the top. For the C6 like that, so that means your melody there would be like our top note. Moves down to B and to A. Now likewise you could do D minor in the 10th position, G7, I suppose 8th position, and C major 7th, C6, D minor 7th, D minor 6, G7, G7 flat 9, G major 7th, G major 6, sorry, C major 7, C major 6, and down to C major 7th. So you can do D minor 9th, G, and C major 7, D minor 7, down to G 9th, C major 7. You see, so there's many possibilities that you could use, just even staying within the same general area of the guitar. C6, C added 9th, C major 7, D minor 7, D minor 6, G7th, G30th, and C major 7, C major 6. Yeah, this not. I like this one. D minor 7th, D minor 6, D minor 7th, G7. Now then, D minor 7th in a higher position to the G7th like that. And this is a nice chord, C major 7. Nice full rich kind of orchestral sound there. And D minor 7th and G7th and C major 7. Now if you go back and look at some of those again, you can think about the chord alterations like G7 sharp 5. So sharp 5's got a really nice kind of bluesy sound to them. So if that's D minor 9th, then the G7 moves up sharp 5. So you hear the way that chord progression works. If it's like D minor, there's the D, there's the G7, D sharp, moves up to the E. Yeah, so G7 sharp 5, G7 flat 9. Now you can swap positions around, so you might, for example, do D minor 7th, G7th, and then all the way up to a C major 7th in the high position. You see what I mean? D minor 7th up in the 10th position, maybe right the way back to the third position for the G7 and the C major 7, C6 there, you know, D minor 7, G7. Another one, nice one here is the D minor 7th, G7 sharp 5. Moves up to that nice orchestral C major 7th chord there. Another look at that G7 sharp 5. D minor 7th, G7 flat 9 to C major 7. So you notice in that one there, the melody is going from F to A flat. So goes down to the C. So there's your melody there, F, A flat, G. So often these chords just aim to make a smooth kind of sound, you know. I suppose you could compare that with if you were going to do power chords, you know, which is like a which is a sort of different style, you know, sort of that different sound, isn't it? These ones with the inner voice that move around, I think sound really good, and they really suit the guitar. D minor 7, D minor 6, G7. Another use of the G7 flat 9 I'll show you. D minor 7th, G7 flat 9. One thing you hear nicely done is where you can connect the bass lines together, where you go like C major 7th, goes through diminished, C sharp diminished, C, and C major 7th, C6, C sharp diminished, A flat 7th. And approaching again from the semitone above, diminished. Okay, fairly straightforward, isn't it? So a low D minor, down to a low G, up to a high C major 7th, D minor 7th. Now, when you're practicing this, you could try using different inversions over the top of these chords. So while one guitar is playing, say, D minor 7th, the other one could be doing D minor 9th. And try different combinations and listen to the sounds that you can produce. Now, you start to make that more rhythmically interesting. You get stuff like do a lot of D minor 7ths in a row, G7ths in a row, C major 7th, D minor 7, G7, C major 7. A flat, now then you've got what you call the tritone substitution. So you've got D minor 7th. Instead of going to G7th, you go to D flat 7th and C major 7th. I'll try not to speed up too much here. Okay, so there's some of the ideas that you could use to play those, those three chords, and it's a really instructive exercise just to go through and try doing a little bit of that. Now then, the scale which goes with that is just the C major 7. So we got C major scale. So we got so basically that's the pattern. Now, so you could be practicing this. People wouldn't even know you're practicing a scale. You have these kind of tricks like and inversion. Sequence. Guitar players, of course, love doing things like hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides. You can slide to any note. String bands. Good if you've got a Strat. Vibrato. Even just a simple idea. Can sound, good in context. Vibrato just softens the sound a little bit and sustains the note. Now, one thing you could do there is you do the chord progression. So you do once through the chord progression, and then you play melody for 4 bars. So it might be play to chords again. And then your melody. melody. Sort of thing, you know, So I hope you find that useful and interesting, just a way of looking at a very simple idea and then developing that through to make something that's a little bit more expanded out, you know, from the simple idea. So I guess you'd call it a development of the idea. Okay, there we are. So I hope to create some more videos in this sort of style, and if you enjoy the video, please let me know. But for now, of course, I'd always say, you know, when you're learning to play a musical instrument, it's great to get together with other people and try and, you know, get a band going. Play with some friends. Get together with some friends. If you know somebody who can play a few notes, you know, then that's a great place to start. You know, get a bass player, drummer, get a band going, make some music with other people, which is a great way, of course, sharing music. You don't need to. You can play music on your own. That's fine. But it's always good to share it with other people. So just as I'm sharing this video with you. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch up again.